Hello everyone. I hope my voice is clear. Just let me know in the chat if you can hear me clearly. All right. So about 20 people have joined. Let's just wait for a minute for others to join. Okay. Hi everyone. Good evening. Okay. In the app, I can see there is some error and it's saying watch on YouTube. So I suggest everybody just try and join on YouTube. Okay, shall we start? 34, 37. Okay, just. No, it's not proper. I don't think so. I checked everything before starting this lecture today. Let me see. Yeah, I guess voice is clear. There's no lag or not lag. There's no background noise or anything. I can see that clearly. All right, video deliberately I have kept it small because when I'm doing the slide sharing, sometimes you are unable to see the content. Okay. All right, chalo. Let's get started. Okay, let me go to the content. Okay. So in the last lecture, if you remember, we kind of barely started with reading comprehension, right? But we did not really. Uh, we looked at high-level concepts, if you remember, but we did not deep dive into it, right? So what we will do is there are three major questions that are asked in CSAT, right? Uh, Assumption, then main idea or conclusion, or crux of the message, something like that. And then there are inference-based questions. So what we are going to do next three lectures is this lecture will look at assumption. The next one would be uh, main idea or crux of the message or critical message by the author, those type of questions. And then the third lecture would be the inference. And then we can look at some PYQs. Okay, so let's go in that direction. In all the three lectures, we are going to use the concept that we used in the first lecture. Okay, Someone is saying audio is not clear repeatedly. I suggest you check your own settings because I think others don't have any problem. Okay, all right. Okay. So what I was trying to say is, in the first lecture, like many people are complaining. I don't see any issues from my side. Hello. Yeah, I can see that everything is working on my end. I suggest you check something on your side. Uh, some frame sets are getting dropped. Let me just. Yeah, latency is normal, so nothing much there. Yeah, otherwise, I don't see any problem at my end. Okay. So, what I was trying to say is that when it comes to reading comprehension, in the first lecture, we sorry, in the first lecture, we looked at high level uh, question setter mindset. If if you remember, we looked at how the wrong questions or rather wrong answer options are safe and what are the ways to kind of eliminate them. And I hope you remember the Bain framework that I shared with you guys, right? So broad, alien, narrow, and extreme. So the same framework or the same theme now we will use for questions, let's say, which are assumption based or some other based kind of questions. Okay, so let's look at assumption. Now, what do you mean by assumptions? So, see, assumption by definition means something that is assumed. Now, what does that mean? If it is assumed, that means author did not feel a need to kind of explicitly state it in the passage, right? So for example, we started this lecture, or I started this lecture in English language. So the assumption I made is that all of you would understand uh, English language or what I am trying to say. Now that was assumption. That's why I did not specifically ask for it or did not state it at earlier. I just started, right? So there are a lot of things where we just basically assume few things and then draw our conclusions basis that. So what happens is assumption by very nature is hidden. Now, what is this hidden means? It basically means that you are reading a passage, okay, and the assumption is actually not given in the passage. So when it comes to solving questions on assumption, any restatement or anything which is let's say any answer option which is restatement of what is already given in the passage is generally not an answer. Okay. Mm, I don't know. I changed everything. I have no clue what's going on. Just hold. Everything seems okay from my side. I don't know what's the problem. Everything seems okay from my side. If you want me to change my, I'll change that, but I don't think that would change anything. Just give me a moment. Is this clear now? I hope this should be clear now. Is this okay? Alright, chalo, let's get back then. I hope it works. Okay, so what I was trying to say earlier was that see, what is an argument? See, argument is something that even when you are speaking with any person, right, it's called an argument. Now what do I mean by that? See, you are trying to convince your friend to go and watch some movie, for example. Okay, so for example, let's say you go and say, why don't you watch, let's say, Durandar. Okay, you go and ask your friend that what's Durandar. Okay, now see, just because you are saying it, nobody will go and watch, right? But you will have to convince that friend, right? Now how do you convince it really depends on you. So for example, you can say it has a good storyline, the star cast is good, the acting is good, let's say the storyline is quite engaging, right? So basically then what then or you can say that the IMDb ratings are good, the critics are saying that the film is worth watching, right? If you go and convince in this manner, there is a chance that that person will go and watch the movie, right? Now all of this is basically argument. Now what do I mean by that? That your conclusion is basically what you want the other person to do. Let's say go and watch a movie, right? Everything you said is a premise, that it has good IMDb rating, good storyline, good star cast. What is assumption? Assumption is hidden, or you assumed something. Now what is it that you assumed? You assumed that if any movie is, let's say, highly rated on IMDb, it's worth watching, right? So that becomes your assumption. Or let's say if a storyline of a particular movie is good, then it's worth watching. So that becomes your assumption. So essentially you did not state it. You did not say just that a higher IMDb rated movie is worth watching in the argument while you are convincing your friend, right? You only say that, hey, look, it has a good rating, right? So what I am trying to say is assumption is something which is not stated. So if you solve any question on assumption, even from PYQs or from practice, if there is any answer option which is restatement of what is given in the passage, then it's not your answer, because by definition assumption is assumed, it's hidden, it's not written there, it's kind of reading between the lines. Okay, so always remember, argument is basically premise plus conclusion. Premise plus assumption is equal to conclusion. Premise is basically statement of facts, right? So what do I mean by premise? So for example, everything that I said, good IMDb rating, good storyline, good star cast, all of these are premise to lead to a conclusion. Conclusion is only one in given paragraph. You cannot have multiple conclusions. You will definitely have multiple premise, but you will have only one conclusion, because you are trying to conclude or drive home over one particular point. So what is the conclusion in that argument? Let's say you want your friend to go and watch that movie. So that's the conclusion. Everything that you said to convince that friend is premise, and everything that was unspoken which you assumed or which was hidden is basically the assumption, right? So I'll give you a simple exercise, that what is the difference between a premise and a conclusion. Okay, and an easy answer to that is, look for the statement of facts versus the statements of opinion. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let's say let me take someone's name. Okay, let's say Kuldeep. So if I say Kuldeep is a student, is it a statement of fact or a statement of opinion? Just tell me. If I say Kuldeep is a student, is it a fact or is it an opinion? Quickly tell me. Fact, right? Because it's not an opinion. See, Kuldeep is a student is not an opinion. Now what's the difference? Now what's the difference between an opinion and a fact? A fact is something which is verifiable. You can go and verify it, right? Then it becomes a statement of fact, right? So Kuldeep is a student. Can I go and verify if he really is a student or not? Correct. So if I can go and verify that, then it's a fact. Now second sentence, if I say Kuldeep is a good student, Kuldeep is a good student, fact or opinion? Kuldeep is a good student, fact or opinion? Right? So when I say Kuldeep is a good student, it becomes a opinion. Now what changed? What changed in the two statements? Kuldeep is a student, Kuldeep is a good student. So a mere introduction of a word good in front of student, which is a noun. So basically good is adjective. Okay, Hindi, Marathi mein we call it Visheshan. Right? So what is adjective? It basically gives away your bias or your opinion. So whenever you have statements that have adjectives in it, okay, something is beautiful, something is nasty, or let's say someone is good, right, someone is bad, these are subjective. Now Kuldeep is a good student. He might be a good student for me, but he might be the best student for someone else, or he might be a bad student for someone else, right? But it's my opinion that he is a good student. Okay, so that's the difference between a fact and an opinion. Introduction of adjective in a sentence will make it a opinion. Now in terms of argument, why does it matter to us? A statement of facts are generally the statement of premise, okay, and a statement of opinion is generally a statement of conclusion. Okay, Kuldeep is a good student is my conclusion. Okay, then I will, let's say, back it with facts. I will say he is attentive in the class, he is always on time to the classes, he does all the homework. All of these are facts, these are premise, these are building blocks, right, to drive home a point or conclusion that he is a good student. And then there were assumptions. Now what were the hidden assumptions? So if someone is doing the homework on time, he or she is a good student. If someone is always attentive, on time in class, he or she is a good student. Now that was an assumption that I did not explicitly state in my argument. Okay, so that's the difference between premise and conclusion. So now to sum it up, Kuldeep is a student, fact. Kuldeep is a good student, conclusion. Okay, now third statement, Rishi sir said Kuldeep is a good student, fact or opinion? Rishi sir said Kuldeep is a good student, fact or opinion? Tell me.
Rishi sir said Kuldeep is a good student. Fact or opinion? Okay, I have mixed responses. Someone is saying fact, someone is saying opinion. Okay, so now this becomes fact. Why it becomes fact? Because can you go and verify whether Rishi sir really said that or not? See, the statement was not Kuldeep is a good student. What was the statement? Rishi sir said Kuldeep is a good student. Right, that's the complete statement. Now that statement, is it a fact or opinion? It is definitely a fact, because you can go and verify whether Rishi sir said that or not. Yes or no? Understood? So if you have a passage which basically says, according to, let's say, Rahul Gandhi, Narendra Modi is not a good prime minister, for example, okay, I'm just making something up. According to Rahul Gandhi, Narendra Modi is not a good prime minister. Now is it a fact or an opinion? You understand what I'm trying to say? Now if it's a fact, then it will not be your conclusion, right? And then hence it will not be your answer if it's a conclusion or critical message question, just because someone has said it, although it is a very profound opinion of someone. Okay, but a mere statement that someone said it makes it a fact and not an opinion. You understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, if I say New Delhi is not the capital of India, New Delhi is not the capital of India, fact or opinion? New Delhi is not the capital of India, fact or opinion? New Delhi is not the capital of India. Okay, someone is saying opinion, someone is saying fact. It's not opinion, guys, it's a fact. Can you go and verify if New Delhi is capital of India or not? Anything that can be verified is a fact, although it's a wrong fact, but still a fact. You understand what I'm trying to say? When I say New Delhi is not the capital of India, it's not an opinion. It is still a fact, because I can go and verify it. In that verification, it might come out as an incorrect fact, but still a fact. Okay, so there, what would happen is, if I use an incorrect fact, then I am making a poor argument. That's all it will happen. But just because I am quoting a wrong fact does not make it my opinion. It's just an error of, let's say, my general knowledge or my research. Okay, so there could be fact that could be wrong, but they are still a fact. We can call it incorrect facts, but still a fact. Okay, anything that you can go and verify is a fact. Okay, now, so let me go and ask you some question. Okay, so these are some of the questions that I have prepared, okay, in order to understand, or in order to basically, in order to understand how assumption works. Okay, so just give it a try. Let me know what's your answer for this. Okay, so someone is saying A. Okay, some people are saying A, some people are saying B, someone is saying D also. Okay, so let's look at it. So which of the following is an assumption in the above argument? A leading critic has argued that rather than let philanthropists spend their wealth on social causes of their choice, it is far better to tax their wealth for development spending by the government. Okay, so let's understand this statement. A leading critic has argued. So there is some critic or someone who has a very strong opinion about, let's say, government, has said that rather than let philanthropists spend their wealth on social causes of their choice. Now, what is a philanthropist? Philanthropist basically means someone who is, let's say, allocating some of his or her income for social causes. Okay, so for example, Bill Gates is one of the biggest philanthropists, right? Tatas are one of the most philanthropist business group in India, right? So what does that mean? That they dedicate or allocate some portion of their income for social causes. Now what is this guy saying? That rather than let philanthropists spend their wealth on social causes of their choice. So for example, if Bill Gates wants to spend some of his income, he doesn't have to seek government's permission as to where he wants to spend that. He can very well spend it for underprivileged children, or he can spend it for climate change causes, or he can spend it for, let's say, some far away calamity in some other country, whatever may be, whatever he thinks is best for him, right? So what he's saying, rather than letting him decide where he wants to spend his money, it is far better to tax their wealth for development spending by the government. So rather than them, Bill Gates deciding where he wants to spend his money for social cause, let government tax him some more, get that extra money, and let government decide where government wants to spend it. Okay, now this is what this critique is saying. Now what is the assumption in the above argument? So A, B, C, D, we have seen all the four options. By the way, the correct answer is A, which most of you have said. What does A say? Government spending can have a greater impact on social causes than wealth in the hands of philanthropists. So if I assume this assumption is correct, what this basically is saying is that government knows better where to spend money than philanthropist. If that is true, my argument is very strong. You understand? Because here I am here, the critic is basically saying that you should rather have government tax it, get the money and spend it on social causes than let the philanthropist do it. Now why would author say that? Assumption here is maybe government knows more, or government does a better job of social welfare than the philanthropist, which is what this option is saying, that government spending can have a greater impact than, let's say, the philanthropist deciding for themselves. Right? Now why B, C, D are incorrect? Philanthropic payouts alone are not sufficient to relieve human misery and poverty. Where is that mentioned? Human misery and poverty. A social cause can be anything, right? It could be climate change, right? It could be some natural disaster. It could very well be some space mission which has nothing to do with earth or human or anything, right? So basically philanthropic payouts alone are not sufficient to relieve human misery and poverty. It's an alien option, not mentioned or not discussed in the passage. Philanthropists are deeply committed to social causes and are aware of their social responsibilities. If this is true, why would you want government to take the decision where to spend the money? Let philanthropists take the decision. So this actually goes against the passage. This basically says that they are committed to social causes, and maybe this option is suggesting that because they are committed, let them do their responsibility. Okay, so C is something which is narrow, or I can say it is false. It's completely opposite of what is given in the passage. Okay, The revenue earned can be utilized by government for non-social causes as well. Again, it's alien. Non-social causes not discussed. Okay, why would you want, if you want, you are basically taxing the philanthropists, right? Because you want to do better spend their because you want to have better spending on the social causes, then you are basically, this option is basically saying that I will go and tax Bill Gates, get the money and spend it on non-social causes. Maybe I will increase salary for government employees, or maybe I will just give more subsidies, right? Then these are non-social causes. Again, alien, not discussed in the passage, not at all relevant. That's why A is the answer. Okay. Development can include environmental, economic along with social. Again, is my passage concerned about overall development, or does passage specifically talk about social causes? It specifically talks about social causes, yes or no? Right? That's why A is correct. Let's move on. How about this one? Give it a try. Alright. So most of you are saying B, Bombay as the answer. Okay, others, let me just know in the comment. Others, what do you think? Okay, mostly are saying B only. So it says, since the good is that which furthers a person's real interests and not his or her self-interest, it follows that in any case when the good is known, men will seek it. So let's break it down. It says, since the good is that which furthers a person's real interest, not his or her self-interest. That means what is good for me? Okay, a good for me is something that will further or that will benefit my real interest or not necessary self-interest. Now what is real interest versus self-interest? Think of it like this. Real interest is something which basically would benefit me and hopefully someone along with me also, versus self-interest is basically something which helps me at the cost of someone else's misery, let's say, or someone might not benefit. So think of it like that, okay, very crudely. It follows that in any case when the good is known, men will seek it. It means what? If I know the consequence of something that is going to further my real interest or it's going to be a good thing, Men will seek it, which means I would want to do it. Any person would want to do that thing, which basically furthers their interest. Okay. The argument above makes which of the following assumptions? It says men can differentiate between their interest, their real interest, and self interest. Is that the assumption? Think of it like this. That could be, I mean, that could be an assumption. Okay, but I basically would need a lot more information about real interest and self interest in order to drive that assumption as an answer. Okay, whereas my passage is not primarily focused on whether I can differentiate between real interest or self interest or not. It's more about, do I know what is good for me? And if I know it is good for me, I'm gonna seek it, I'm gonna find it, I'm gonna do it. So men would prefer to choose actions that are in their real interest to those in their self interest, right? So A is also partially correct, B is completely correct. I mean, it completes the assumption where this good part, which is the crux of this passage by the way, is mentioned. That good part is missing here. Yes, I need to differentiate between real and self interest, but for what? Because then I can choose what is it that what would actually benefit me. So B option is basically completes or complements what was missed in A. Okay, C and D are anyway out of question. Good is something that is non-desirable in itself, completely alien. Okay, doesn't even doesn't even have any relevance to what is given in the passage as well. Okay, and D says men should seek the good rather than the bad. This is more of an instruction than an assumption. It says men should do something. Okay, men should seek the good rather than the bad. Now the bad is not mentioned. Okay, and men should say good when it is in their real interest and not self interest. That portion is important. That's why B Bombay is correct. Okay, some people are saying C. What's your rationale for saying C? I just don't understand. It says good is something that is not desirable in itself. If good is something which is not desirable, why would I seek it? Why would I want to do it? It goes completely against what's given in the passage. It says if I know, if a good is known, I am gonna seek it. This option says good is something which is not desirable. That means I don't want to seek it. What is desirable? Desirable means I want it. I would like to walk towards it. I would like to get it. That's desirable. Okay, let's say I desire a four-wheeler. Then I would work towards it. I would save money, do something, get that car, something like that, right? You are basically saying good is something which is not desirable. It's undesirable, you are saying. So car in itself is undesirable. If car is undesirable, then why would I want it? You understand? So C, I don't know why some people are marking C, but it's not even relevant to what's given in the passage. Okay, B Bombay is correct. Let's move on to next. Is this better now? Can you confirm? I hope the audio is better now. Okay, so this one we solved. Okay, so for this one, so some people are saying A and some people are screaming C. Okay, so some people is saying A, some are saying C. Okay, let's look at it. It says parents have been asked to urge their children to avoid speaking to any stranger who may initiate a conversation with them on their way to or back from school. Children should be trained to quickly walk away from strangers who may intercept them, the circular states. When strangers in cars or other vehicles offer a lift, children should be taught to refuse and also inform someone at nearby shop or police person standing nearby. Children should be asked not to go with anyone other than the person who picks them up or escorts them. If there is a change in pickup arrangement, children should be informed about it in advance. This is a straightforward passage. I don't think there's a lot of explanation to be required here. So I assume you have understood this. Let's quickly go to option. It says children are mainly harmed by strangers. Second says the schools could find it hard to adhere to the guidelines stated in the circular. So B is out of question. C says the number of cases students missing on their way back from school saw a decline since the circular was issued. Why? Okay. The number of police personnel is inadequate to meet the demand stated in the circular. I don't know. A is a straightforward answer. Why are some people saying C? C is saying what is the result of this circular. Whereas what we need is the assumption. This is kind of a consequence or effect of what happened once the circular was, let's say, circulated. Right? So I'm not sure why some people were screaming C, I mean, in the chat. I don't know. A is, I don't know. It's straightforward, right? Let's move on. How about this? Give it a try. Okay, some people are saying B, some people are saying D, Delhi. Okay, someone is saying C also. Let's look at it. Cumin, pepper, ginger, garlic have found their way into the labs of premier universities across US, with Indian American scientists beginning to test natural products for treatment of cancer. Almost every group is thinking and conducting animal and clinical trials from natural products for treatment of different cancers, said Professor Shrikant of University of Kansas. The first phase of clinical trial conducted by his research team was found curcumin to be safe. Orally administered 12 grams per day for 3 months, curcumin was found to inhibit the proliferation of cells. Professor Bal, radiation oncology at Miami, has conducted trials on transgenic animals using BIRM, an Andean plant extract that has been found to downregulate androgen receptor and showing anti-tumor activity in prostate cancer. The androgen receptor AR levels and activities are critical for prostate cancer progression. Down-regulating AR may slow or halt prostate cancer progression. The trials have shown that there are no side effects, as the animals did not develop symptoms of diarrhea, heart trouble, or weight loss as seen during treatments of humans with cancer, he said. These results indicate that there is a huge scope of alternate medicines in cancer treatment in human beings. Okay, so this last line is basically the assumption. Rest all were the facts. Indicate that there is a huge scope of, again, huge adjective, right? Opinion. There is a huge scope of alternate medicines in cancer treatment. Now, which of the following assumption made in the passage? So people are saying B, C. Okay. Answer, by the way, is C. So most of you got it right. Why we're saying B? B says cancer patients are not totally averse to the concept of. Guys, why would you mark B? What is the relevance of B in the passage? It says cancer patients are not totally averse to the concept of alternative medicine. What does that mean? They are not totally averse. Averse means what? Not aware. Right? So they are not completely aware to the concept of alternative medicine. How does that matter? Okay. See, the result of the trial will be same in humans as shown in animals. That's the assumption, right? In all of this, all these trials were done on what? Animals, right? American animal and clinical conducting animal and clinical trials, right? Then where was that? Transgenic animals, right? So what they are saying is all these tests, all these research that we have done on animals, what's the conclusion? Human beings. So what does that mean? That what worked for animals will work for humans, and that becomes your assumption. You understand what I'm trying to say? Okay. Someone is saying the trials have shown that there are no side effects as the animals did not develop symptoms of diarrhea. Do not get hung on this, humans. What does that mean? What does this humans mean here is there is an existing treatment that a cancer patient takes. In that treatment, a cancer patient suffers from diarrhea, heart trouble, weight loss. These side effects that are generally seen in normal treatment on humans are not seen in these clinical trials on animals. That's what this statement means. It doesn't mean that humans did not have this side effect. It simply says, in general, whatever the treatment of cancer that's available today, which is done on the humans tend to suffer from these side effects, which did not which did not got replicated, or we did not see those side effects when we did this clinical trials on animals. That's what it means. Okay, so C is bang on. It's actually correct. Is this clear? Okay. Now someone was saying, why such lengthy passage? I don't know if you have seen UPSC passages. They are lengthier than this, perhaps 2 paragraphs, perhaps 3 paragraphs sometimes. Okay, and the language sometimes get this technical as well. Okay, wait till we solve passages on environment, climate change, and you would see the language is quite technical there. Okay, does that mean that you have to have knowledge of these science or knowledge of these field of studies? No. Okay, it's an English comprehension test. It's not a biology comprehension test. Okay, so whatever passage that they give you is something which is technical in nature, but something that can be understood by layman also. Obviously, you will have to work a little hard. You will not get a passage, let's say, on Indian politics which you can just read through. So don't expect that. Okay. How about this? Give it a try. Okay. So again, I have A and C. Citibank will be sending specially bound gift copies of a new book, Bollywood Popular Indian Cinema, to its most favored NRI account holders all over the world. So Citibank statement mentioned you wanted to give them something special, something Indian, and most Indians love Bollywood. Very good. Which of the following is the assumption made in the passage? NRIs love similar things that Indians love. Where is that mentioned? Okay, sorry. That's correct. My bad. NRIs love similar things that Indians love, right? Because I'll tell you why. Here it says something Indian and most Indians love Bollywood, right? So what they are basically saying that Indians love Bollywood and they want to send it to NRIs. So basically they are saying NRIs also love Bollywood. So NRIs and Indians, they are alike when it comes to their liking to Bollywood. So this one makes sense. Okay. Some people are saying NRI accounts are the most favored accounts for Citibank. That would be discrimination, right? Think of it like this. You go to SBI and in SBI that clerk says you are not our favored customer, so will not treat you well. How would it feel for you? Think of it like this. So banks generally don't, by policy, they don't discriminate. Right? By policy, no banks would discriminate between their customers. Okay? At actual, there might be some deviation. in how they respond to your queries and all. Okay, but by policy, no bank has a policy that okay, you are our better customer, will treat you better, you are not our good customer, will not treat you better. No bank would do that. So C is a little discriminatory, never mark such an answer. Okay. B and D. B, NRIs love Hindi songs more than anything else in India. Again, comparison not mentioned. Bollywood Popular India is the best book on Indian films. Even if it is best book, why would you gift it to NRIs? That linkage is missing, so that's not an assumption also. Okay. Most favored NRI account holders. That doesn't mean that NRI accounts are most favored. See, think of it like this. A bank has 1000 accounts, 100 of which are NRI accounts, 10 of which are favored accounts. That's what it means, that I have 1000 accounts of which 100 are NRI, of them 10 are favored. This says that NRI accounts are the most favored. That means all 100 accounts are favored. I have 1000 accounts, let's say 900 are in domestic Indians, 100 are NRI, and I'm gonna say, oh, NRI accounts are favored accounts for me. No, you cannot say that in policy, that okay, if you are a NRI account holder, I will treat you better than, let's say, if you are a domestic account holder. Okay. So this statement, don't get confused with what's given here. It says if you have 100 NRI accounts, in that you have 10 which are favored. Now that is fine. Okay, so basically there are loyalty programs that are run. If you are my customer for last 15 years, obviously I'm gonna favor you than someone who has just opened account 2 days ago. Right? So by policy that's allowed. You reward loyalty. Okay, you reward someone who is engaged with you for a very long period of time. That is still fine. Okay, but you cannot differentiate across the types of account. You cannot say, for me, NRI accounts are more favored, even if that account holder is just 1 day old. Rather than saying, oh, my savings account holder, I don't favor, even if that account is, let's say, 15 years old. How about this? Give it a try. Alright. B, D, B, someone saying A, B, D, A, okay. There is an urgent need for more and more youngsters to turn to the teaching profession in India. Okay, what would be the assumption? What would be the assumption? Teaching is not a lucrative profession in India. If it is not lucrative profession, why would author say that youngsters should turn to teaching profession? There is a shortage of teachers in India. That's a plain, straightforward assumption. I need more people in this profession. Why? Because maybe I have shortage of people in this profession. Simple. Right? you need more people. Let's say, assuming you are working in some department, you are saying you need more people in your department, or you want more youngsters in your department. Why would you say that? As an officer, you would say because you have shortage in your department, you need more people, right? India needs help, it is going through crisis of sorts. Irrelevant. Where is that mentioned? Nothing at all. It's a simple statement. There is a urgent need for more and more youngsters to turn to the teaching profession. Very simple, straightforward statement. Okay, so don't complicate it. There is a shortage of teachers. How about this? You ignore this part for now. I'll explain this. Just answer the question. Alright, some people are saying, let me check. Some people are saying B, Bombay as the answer. It's not. By the way, A is the answer. Okay, it says all those who love cricket would be glued to the relay of the Cricket World Cup on television. Okay, so I want you to follow this principle. Okay, so it says if P then Q is true, right? If P then Q, if you love cricket, you would be glued to the TV. If you love cricket, P, then Q, then you would be glued to the TV. If this is true, then the opposite of it is also true. Now, what is the opposite of it? If not Q, then not P. If you are not glued to the TV, you are not a cricket lover. Those who are not watching the TV or not glued to the TV must not be the cricket lover. Please understand this. I'll explain it again in next lecture. We need to stop it now, but the concept is clear. If a statement says if P then Q, then the statement is also saying, or what is also correct is if not Q, then not P. If you love cricket, you would be watching it on TV. So if you are not watching it on TV, not Q, then not P, that means you don't love cricket. Is this clear? This is the concept we are going to use a lot of times, especially in PYQs. I'll come to that. Okay. But please remember, any statement in the question which can be written It says if P then Q, then the opposite of it is also true, which is if not Q then not P. I'll explain again. If you love cricket, you will be watching the TV. If P, then Q. P is if you love cricket. Q, you will be watching TV. So not Q. If you are not watching TV, then not P, then you don't love cricket. Is this clear? Okay. This is the concept I'll keep coming back in next few lectures also, because it is one of the most important ones. You will come to know why. Okay, but let's end the lecture on this note here. I will share, so I have already shared the PDF of last lecture. Hopefully they will share it on the group today or on the app today, and I will share this lecture's PDF also, so both you will get today. Okay, I'll try that. With this, I guess we can stop. I had a couple of more questions, or rather many more questions. I can definitely give you those as practice. Okay, and you can try this on your own. But all in all, let's stop here for now. Okay, I hope you have understood a little bit of assumption type questions. Okay, I'll give you some model questions, some videos from last years of me practicing questions. All of those I will provide. But yeah, English by far is one of the easier ones as compared to quants or reasoning. So definitely give these a try, a little bit of practice, and you would be in a much better position. Okay, so see you on next Saturday. Okay, till then, have a good time and all the best for your studies. Okay.